Welcome back, everyone. Today, we've got a truly inspiring story for you. We're diving into a podcast interview with Bill and Janet, a couple who started an amazing company and ended up moving to Portugal.
Sounds fascinating already.
It really is. We'll be looking at how they challenged assumptions and found potential where others might not. Their journey is all about, well, how personal struggles can lead to unexpected triumphs.
I'm always intrigued by stories like that, turning adversity into opportunity, that sort of thing.
Exactly. So let's start in Colorado, back during the 2007-2008 recession. Bill, at 54, finds himself out of a job and ends up taking a low-paying position, managing a program for adults with developmental disabilities.
Wow, that's quite a shift.
Yeah, it wasn't exactly what he had planned for at that point in his career, you know. But it's often when we're pushed outside our comfort zones that we start to see things differently.
I agree, those unexpected situations can really force us to reevaluate our assumptions.
And that's exactly what happened here. Bill, in this new setting, starts observing four men in the program, all on the autism spectrum, who are incredibly skilled at taking things apart. And they love doing it.
That's really interesting. It challenges the common perception that repetitive tasks are undesirable, and the assumption about individuals with autism, too.
Right. For these men, it wasn't just a job. It was something they genuinely enjoyed. It really got Bill thinking, what if there was a way to tap into this untapped workforce?
It's like turning a perceived liability into an asset, right?
Precisely. He saw an opportunity to provide these men with meaningful work, with dignity, and at the same time address a real need in the recycling industry.
It's so smart finding that intersection where everyone benefits.
And that's how Blue Star Recyclers was born, a company built around employing people with autism to disassemble electronics.
Not about charity, but about recognizing the value these employees brought.
Absolutely. And the impact on the employees was amazing. Increased self-esteem, social engagement, a stronger work ethic.
You can't underestimate the power of feeling valued, right? Having a sense of purpose.
Yeah.
And Janet, Bill's wife, she often shares these heartwarming anecdotes about the hugs from the employees.
It's really touching. Those hugs are a powerful symbol of the connections they formed, shattering that misconception that people with autism are unaffectionate.
So powerful. And let's not forget the company's success. Lower absenteeism, higher productivity, and a safer work environment compared to industry averages.
Really remarkable results. It proves that employing people with disabilities can be a smart business decision, not just a feel-good story.
Right. It's about recognizing everyone's potential.
But it wasn't all smooth sailing, was it? I mean, the company barely survived those first 3 years.
You're right. It emphasizes the fact that this wasn't about handouts.
They had to work incredibly hard to make Blue Star Recyclers work. It makes you wonder how much Bill's personal experiences shaped his vision for the company.
Oh, definitely. He often talks about his complex relationship with his brother, Paul, who has a developmental disability.
You can see how that lived experience played a huge role in his journey. He wasn't approaching this from some theoretical standpoint. He understood the challenges, the triumphs, everything that comes with navigating the world with a disability.
And he shares a really powerful story about letting go of resentment towards his brother, Paul. That's what opened him up to these new possibilities.
That's right. And those possibilities led him to create Blue Star Recyclers. So we see how Bill's initial disillusionment during the recession actually transformed into this incredible sense of purpose.
It's quite a journey. And it doesn't end there, does it?
No, it doesn't. They end up making a big life change a few years later, moving from Colorado to Portugal.
That's a bold move. What prompted that after finding success with Blue Star Recyclers?
Well, before we get into their motivations for moving to Portugal, let's talk about how they even made it happen. It almost seems fated, don't you think?
I agree. The way things fell into place is remarkable.
Their son, Sam, he actually buys their house. So that was one less thing to worry about.
Wow, what a lucky break.
It really was. And then Janet receives an inheritance from her mother. Talk about perfect timing.
Incredible how it all aligned, right? Almost like it was meant to be.
Yeah, like they're being guided. And they were smart about it, too. They didn't just pack up and leave. They did a trial run, living in Portugal for a month to see if it was really a good fit.
Makes sense. A big decision like that, you want to be sure.
Of course.
Yeah.
And, well, they fell in love with it. Portugal exceeded all their expectations, they said. Found that sense of belonging they were looking for.
It's a reminder that home isn't always a place, right? It's a feeling.
Absolutely. But, I mean, it wasn't all sunshine and roses, was it? Adapting to a new culture, it comes with its own challenges. Janet talks about how tough it was learning Portuguese, especially in the smaller villages they loved so much.
I can imagine. A new language, a new way of life, it takes real commitment.
It does. And Bill, he had his own set of observations. He was struck by the differences in outlook between young people in Europe versus the U.S. He felt like horizons seemed more fixed in Europe, less emphasis on social mobility.
It's interesting. So, more of a sense of tradition, maybe, less focus on the individual climbing the ladder.
That's how he saw it. But then he contrasts that with the American mindset, all about limitless possibilities, but maybe, he says, at the expense of appreciating history.
Hmm. That's a thought-provoking observation. Makes you wonder, right? Is it about cultural values or just different societal structures? Do we focus so much on individual achievement that we lose sight of the bigger picture, our shared history?
It's complex, for sure, but worth thinking about. It challenges us to examine our own assumptions about opportunity, about progress, how different cultures approach these concepts.
Definitely. There's always something to learn from other perspectives.
And it's fascinating how Bill's personal journey keeps intertwining with his observations about the world, you know? He even connects his experiences with Blue Star Recyclers back to his relationship with his brother, Paul. It was like he realized Paul's disability wasn't a burden. It was a catalyst for his own growth.
It's powerful how what we might perceive as a negative can actually lead to such positive transformation. It's like embracing our struggles, finding the wisdom they offer.
Exactly. And for Bill, it was through coming to terms with his complicated feelings about Paul that he could really open his heart to the possibilities of Blue Star Recyclers.
And to those new possibilities in Portugal, too.
Yeah. And this brings us to the heart of their decision to move. It wasn't just a change of scenery. It was about living their values. Bill often mentions this principle he discovered. Actions benefiting multiple people are inherently right.
Wow, that's a beautiful guiding principle, a sense of shared responsibility, right? That
Yeah.
we're all interconnected.
That's it. He saw this reflected in the success of Blue Star Recyclers and in their decision to move to Portugal. Each choice rippling outwards, creating positive outcomes for everyone involved.
It's inspiring, isn't it? Shifting from a scarcity mindset to abundance. Believing there's enough for everyone, that our success is tied to the success of others.
Exactly. Cooperation over competition. And before we wrap up this part of their story, there's one more observation Bill made that I found really interesting. He noticed this stark contrast in how Europeans and Americans view history. He felt like Europeans, particularly in Portugal, were more tethered to the past, while Americans tend to focus on the future, sometimes neglecting history altogether.
That's a fascinating point. Different ways of relating to time, to progress. Like maybe there's a balance to be struck there, honoring the past without being bound by it.
Right. Recognizing that the past shapes the present and the present shapes the future. It seems like Bill and Janet, they found that balance in their own lives.
Honoring their past experiences, embracing the present, and creating a future aligned with their values. What an inspiring story.
It really is. It really makes you think, how many other stories like Bill and Janet's are out there?
Right. Just waiting to be discovered. Their journey reminds us that life can be full of surprises. Sometimes the greatest adventures start when we're least expecting it, when we're willing to embrace the unknown, challenge what we think we know.
It's about having the courage to follow your heart, right? And trusting that things will work out, even if it doesn't seem like it at first. Their story is full of those moments.
It's not about grand gestures either. It's about simple acts of kindness, recognizing potential, choosing love over resentment.
It's a powerful example of how manure can be turned into flowers.
I love that, the transformative power of perspective, right? We can choose to see our challenges as obstacles or as opportunities for growth.
Well,
Bill and Janet, they chose the latter, and they
Yeah.
created something beautiful, something impactful.
so for everyone listening, what can we take away from their journey? What does it mean for us?
It's a call to action, I think. A challenge to look at our own lives. What assumptions are we holding on to about work, about people's potential? How can we shift our focus?
Hmm.
See the unique talents in everyone.
Regardless of perceived limitations, right? It's about challenging those preconceived notions, seeing the potential in everyone and in ourselves. Bill and Janet's story shows us that it's never too late to change our story, to create a life that's meaningful, fulfilling.
It's about realizing we all have the power to make a difference, no matter how small our actions may seem. When we embrace compassion, when we recognize potential, choose love over fear, it creates this ripple effect, a positive change that goes way beyond ourselves.
Absolutely. And if you want to learn more about the incredible company they founded, you can visit their website. It's bluestarrecyclers.org.
It's an amazing organization. They continue to champion the talents of individuals with autism, create a more inclusive world.
This deep dive has been truly inspiring. It leaves us with a lot to think about. How many other incredible journeys are out there waiting to be discovered? Until next time, keep diving.